Hello everyone, this is Paukshte Fashion Workshop. I remind you that we post new videos every day. I also want to remind you that 3 of our video courses are available now. Buy the courses if you haven't done it yet. We would really appreciate your support. Today we're going to show you one more technique for edging the sleeves with cuffs. We're going to show you how to edge them with a bias binding. We've already got a long sleeve made on the basis of the basic pattern. Here's also the cuff detail, the interfacing material for it, and the bias binding. Let's get down to work. We need to start drawing a line 5 or 7 centimeters away from the edge in the bottom of the back side. It depends on the fullness of your arm. We need to draw a line 6 centimeters away from the edge and make a mark 7 centimeters up from the bottom. This is going to be an opening, which is going to be edged with the bias binding. We need to make an opening here and go to the ironing desk. We need to make a bias binding and double the cuff. Natalie is doubling the cuff with the interfacing material. We've cut the interfacing material in such a way that it doesn't stretch crosswise. Do not forget to cut the extra pieces after doubling the details. Keep in mind that you are going to do everything twice. You are going to make 2 of each detail. 2 cuffs, 2 sleeves. We are just making a mock-up, so we are making just 1 detail. Next, we need to fold the edge for about 5 or 7 millimeters and iron it. We're doing it now to make the further work easier. Next, we need to fold the cuff in half and iron it once again. The cuff is ready. We've doubled and folded it. Be very attentive. Next, we're going to make a bias binding. The width of this stripe of fabric is 3 centimeters. Fold one edge for about 5 or 7 millimeters and press it with an iron. Please be very attentive. Let's go back to the sewing machine. This is the sleeve. This opening is 7 centimeters long. Here's the bias binding. We need to join the bias binding to the sleeve from the wrong side and stitch it from the right side. Be very attentive. There are no strict rules. It all depends on the type of the sleeve you're making. In some cases, you need to do it otherwise. I remind you that Natalie is stitching the details from the right side. Sometimes it's needed to do it from the wrong side. Watch what Natalie is doing very attentively. The width of the seam is 5 millimeters. Have a close look at the seam. In the end of the cut, the width of the seam is 2 millimeters. We can't make it wider, and the width of the seam on the bias tape is still 5 millimeters. Please be very attentive.
Смотрим, что у нас получилось.
This is how the seam looks like from the right side.
Это лицевая
And this
сторона.
is how it looks like from the wrong
Смотрим, что
side.
с изнаночной. Вот
Here
наш
is the bias
результат.
binding.
Всё, работаем
Let's go
дальше.
back to the ironing desk.
Нашу
We need to
прикольную
iron the
спинку
stitch
слегка
details.
отутюживаем. Даем направление шву, чтобы шов
The seam
лежал
should be
чуть
folded
быстрее
towards the bias
в сторону
binding.
пейки.
Let's get back to the sewing machine. Have a
Обратите
close look at the
внимание
seam
на
allowance.
припуск.
Natalie covers it with the bias binding
Припуск Наташа
and makes a
обогнула.
stitch.
И теперь будет
The
давать
width of the
себе
seam is just 1 millimeter.
0,1 от края.
Do not forget to make back stitches in the beginning and the end of the seam.
Аккуратно вот этот
Be
момент
very
нужно
careful in the
аккуратно
middle.
выложить здесь.
Stitch the bias binding
Вот в этом
accurately.
месте нужно аккуратно положить бейку,
It's a
чтобы
gentle
вот
and
сам
delicate work.
конец разреза, чтобы здесь было сделано очень аккуратно. Такая
This is where
работа
the slit
рутинная,
ends.
ну, зато это красиво. Можно эту бейку
You can
завязать,
tack the details first if you want to.
что вы будете строчить правильно.
There is no need for Natalie to do it.
Здесь
Don't
такая
hurry.
идея. Вот что у
Have a
нас
look here.
получилось.
This is how the slit looks like now.
Бейкой. Дали строчку. Здесь
The
у нас
seams are
строчка
very
попала
elegant.
в самый край. И изнутри тоже попала в самый край. Будьте
We've stitched in
внимательны,
the
это нужно
very
сделать
edge.
очень аккуратно.
This
Вот
is how
так
the
выглядит
opening
сам
looks like
разрез.
now.
Вот он. Вот
We
сейчас
need
он
to shape
выглядит
it.
как разрез. Но мы его положим. Чтобы
Join
разрез
the sides
лежал
of the
так, как
opening
нам нужно,
and
сложили
stitch the corner,
строчку вместе и
as if you are
застрочили
making a
чуть-чуть,
small
как
dot.
будто выточка. Самый
Please be
кончик
very
выточки.
attentive.
Прям буквально чуть-чуть. Просто для
Stitch
того,
a
чтобы
very
дать
small part.
направление
Be very
уже
attentive.
этому разрезу.
It
Выглядит
looks
как
like a
шишка
tiny
такая
vent.
маленькая.
We
Сейчас
need to
нужно
iron the
будет
stitch
вырезать.
detail next.
Можно
Let's cut the
вырезать
extra pieces from the bias binding.
у бейки. И
Be
обратите
very
внимание,
attentive.
вот так лежит этот разрез. Он может сам собой
This is
вот
how
так
the slit
случайно
looks like now.
положиться не на ту сторону. Вот. И будет смотреть в сторону
What is very
разреза
important
рукава.
is that the detail should be pressed towards the underarm seam.
Посмотреть, обратить внимание на это и положить так, как вам
This is a
нужно,
must.
чтобы
Be
этот
very,
разрез
very
всегда
attentive.
был на большей стороне.
Notice how careful Natalie is. Let's go back to the sewing machine. It's time to stitch the sleeve itself. The width of the seam is 1 centimeter.
Ширина шва 1 сантиметр. Очень
It's more
удобно
convenient to
сначала
edge the opening first,
разрез
and only then stitch the sleeve itself.
и только потом стачивать его. Шов
Next, we're going to
стягиваем.
edge the seam with an overlocker off the camera.
Работаем оверлоком.
That's
За
it.
камерой.
Next, Natalie is going to press the seam
Шов
closed.
задерживаем.
This technique is very useful when you need to make a sleeve for a blouse, in case you don't want to make a blanket in it. It is also much easier than making blankets, and the blouse would look beautiful in this case. Amazing. The sleeve is ironed. That's all for today. Next time we'll continue working with these sleeves. We're going to show you how to stitch the cuffs to the sleeves and how to edge them. We're Ira and Natalie. Subscribe to this channel, buy the courses, write comments, share the videos, press a like and the bell buttons. We would really appreciate your support. Thank you. Goodbye.